Welcome to the video. Credit should be given where it's due, and the general training requirements the Occupational Safety and Health Administration have make a good template for developing and delivering good, effective training. Stay tuned to find out why and learn that you don't always have to reinvent the wheel to have good training. However you slice and dice this, the point of training is to impart knowledge and develop skills in a learner so that they can do some job or task. It should be pretty easy to envision training if you think about training a pet. You want the pet to do something like rolling over, fetching, or sitting down. Consequently, the actions of the trainer are focused on getting that behavior from the animal and ensuring that the behavior happens when specific triggers are introduced. If your dog Milo barks when you say speak, and that's what you were going for, congratulations, he's been successfully trained. This differs somewhat from education in that education tends to be broader. An example of the difference would be learning the rules, history, and development of various sports for the purposes of forming a lesson on the topic versus learning the rules of a sport so that you can actually participate in it. When thinking about training, keep things focused on everything that supports the doing of tasks. The Powered Industrial Truck Standard, for anyone interested, is 29 CFR 1910.178. Feel free to look it up on your preferred search engine. While there are a lot of requirements, we'll focus on the training portions. There are still a significant number of requirements, from the topics, the format, and the need for the certification of operators. However, when looking at what it calls for in a broad sense, you see it divide training into three parts: formal training, practical training, and evaluation of skills. This all leads up to the issuing of a certification should a learner successfully complete all three stages. Certification in this context is a lot like a driver's license. It allows the operator to operate the equipment without supervision in compliance with the OSHA standard. Here is an example of a powered industrial truck in action. The operator is carrying materials down a relatively narrow aisle space. The carried materials can obstruct vision in the direction of travel. That's a potential hazard all on its own. The operator also must maneuver so that the materials can be placed in proper storage. Note that the forklift turns in the rear, which is unlike how a car turns. This may seem simple, but with all that's going on and having to do it without hitting people or objects, is it a wonder that the regulations require training with a multifaceted approach in mind? Now we're going to look at why the OSHA Powered Industrial Truck Standard makes a good template for training, starting with a look at a street basketball game. If you've never seen basketball played and don't know its rules, you could glean something of the rules just by watching it. For instance, the team can pass the ball to others, and they seem to want to throw the ball through the net on a type of goal post. You've got something of the basics of how the game is played. Get the ball through the net, presumably more times than the other team can. So, after seeing the game played, think you're ready to pull off the dunk? I know I'm not. Next up is golf. We see someone driving a golf ball, and then the ball going into the hole. The initial image and the way the golfer swings might make you think that the hole they're going after is a long way away. That said, it's still pretty clear that the goal is to get the ball in the hole, from however far away the game starts at. You've seen it done, so now you're ready to hit your first hole-in-one, right? If you're like me, seeing it done isn't enough to be able to do it myself with any real competence. That's why practice is needed so you can develop the ability to do what you have seen to some minimum level of competence. Part of the competence is learning the rules and concepts behind why things are done a specific way. Often, you don't know you're doing something right without someone who is already competent giving you instruction and evaluating you for how well you can actually perform the task. That's going to include getting the rules right as well as doing the task correctly in the field. The finished product should be successful performance of the task in compliance with the established rules learned in training. Combining the development of knowledge, practical skills, and evaluation of competency together make for successful training. If you think about it, that shouldn't come as a surprise. After all, do you really know if someone can do something until they do it while someone who knows how it's done sees them do it? It was said earlier that the general purpose of training is to impart knowledge and skills onto a learner so that they can do something competently. Well, if the learner isn't given training sufficient to develop that competence, a lot of bad things can happen. Just think about what can happen if someone is hit with a forklift or its load. That's right, serious injury or worse can happen. That same forklift can hit a building support beam. The forklift we looked at was on the smaller side too. There are lots of bigger industrial-sized forklifts and equipment that are more than capable of collapsing a building or at least portions of it. How much might that set you back if something like that were to happen? It isn't just forklift operation you need to pay attention to either. Oh no, When someone is using a chainsaw, a cutting torch, operating a piece of mobile equipment like a forklift, coding, or any number of jobs, not knowing how to perform the task properly can have some pretty nasty consequences that I'm pretty sure no one wants to face. And even if none of those particularly nasty events happen, if someone doesn't know how to properly do the job, how is that going to impact your productivity as a company? Probably not in a good way. Additionally, OSHA and other regulatory bodies have other training requirements for other tasks and topics. Failure to train properly, as well as not ensuring that the other requirements of an applicable standard are met, can result in some pretty hefty fines too. Well, we're coming to the end of the video. So what did we figure out? There's a time and a place to innovate and reinvent something. The saying that if something's not broke, don't fix it leaves a lot of potential improvement on the table. A well-trained workforce helps a company perform at its best in a profitable way. Training can solve or prevent a lot of problems. Just realize that not every problem can be solved with training. Solving some problems may require thinking outside of the box. You know, innovating. Fortunately, you don't have to figure everything out yourself. OSHA did a significant amount of work for you setting up what is needed to ensure competency. Your company will need to decide how best to adapt that approach to other training topics and its specific needs, but the foundation is set. There's good business reasons to adopt OSHA's Powered Industrial Truck Standard training requirements to your company's general training needs. Start looking for your reasons today.